because the queen had eaten an extra quail egg. The king immediately suspected she was pregnant. When he heard the queen admitted herself, Henry was overjoyed. This was because his two previous wives had failed to give him a son, and this time Jane's pregnancy news reignited Henry's hopes. From that moment on, Henry began to pamper Jane. He not only imported her favorite quail eggs from France, but also made time to be with her, even ordering custom toys for their soon-to-be-born son. Because of the child in her womb, Jane gained respect and admiration from the people. If it were a boy, her throne would be secure. But the pregnancy also filled Jane with unease. One day, while Henry was in a meeting discussing how to expand his territories, he was suddenly notified that Jane was feeling unwell. When he rushed to her chamber, he found Jane carefully resting in bed, and when he felt the baby move, Henry finally relaxed. However, just before her labor, she suddenly had a foreboding feeling. Jane urgently called for her maid and instructed her, no matter what happens during the birth, the life of the child must come first. As she had feared, the delivery was extremely difficult. After 2 days of intense pain, Jane finally gave birth. Perhaps heaven had heard Henry's prayers, for this time, he was blessed with a little prince. He named his long-awaited son Edward, and held the grandest baptism ceremony at the palace. Because he had fulfilled Henry's desire for a son, Jane became Henry's only moonlight in his heart. She was also the only queen to be buried with a royal queen's funeral. However, the joy was short-lived. Due to the severe trauma from childbirth, Jane quickly developed a postpartum fever. Her fever lasted for days, and despite the doctor's best efforts, she couldn't be saved. Jane's death hit Henry hard, and from then on, he closed himself off, even neglecting state affairs. One day, the ministers arrived urgently at night, bringing with them a portrait of a young woman. Henry's face finally showed a smile. That night, the king immediately summoned a maid to his room, but it was during this night of indulgence that the burning desire in Henry's heart was reignited. He decided it was time to choose a new queen for himself. The ministers quickly recommended the niece of the Roman emperor, partly for political gain, and partly because she met Henry's tastes. Though the young woman was a widow, she was still a virgin. Initially, Henry hesitated, but when he learned of her beauty, he agreed immediately. Moreover, she enjoyed card games and hunting, interests that perfectly aligned with Henry's. So, Henry sent an envoy to propose marriage. However, to everyone's surprise, the young woman firmly rejected the proposal. She clearly understood what kind of man Henry was, since his previous 3 queens had not met good fates. The ministers had no choice but to give up. After the rejection, Henry turned to his second choice, selecting from the remaining candidates. After much persuasion from the ministers, Henry finally agreed to marry a German princess. But when he went to meet her with great anticipation, the sight before him shattered his expectations.